Now, Skypiea to me has to be probably the most frustrating arc up to where I am at currently in One Piece. Currently, I'm at Enies Lobby, and so far, all the arcs I felt like besides Longring were great, and the flaws really didn't stick out to me. Even Longring, which is for sure the worst arc in One Piece up to this point, filled its purpose and kind of had a slice of life vibe to it, and it was a nice change of pace in comparison to the dragged out, dreadful, intense arc that was Skypiea. And speaking of, in today's video, we are going to be talking about Skypiea and whether or not if this arc is worth watching or if it's genuinely good. While watching this arc, I feel like Anakin Skywalker, conflicting back and forth on if I like this arc or not, and in today's video, I'm going to be listing not only the pros, but also the cons, and you guys can come to your own conclusion by the end of the video, and you guys will see my conclusion if you watch up until the end, so be sure to do that. I apologize if I sounded a little negative at the start. I believe Skypiea has some of the best moments to offer in One Piece up to where I'm at least, but the cons stick out to me just as much as the pros. Let's talk about it. For starters, Skypiea itself and the background where our Straw Hats are at for this arc is really cool, and I much prefer over the look of Alabasta or Drum Island. Also, by this point, there aren't really too many animation problems, and it's just very nice looking even before the animation actually gets an upgrade after this arc. The characters that are new here that I actually liked are Ganfall and Konis, who did kind of play a bigger role, and out of the characters who did survive, I'm glad Ganfall did survive and actually ended up trying to rebuild what Enel destroyed. Speaking of, Enel himself felt really intimidating as an antagonist and felt like a force of nature that can suddenly strike at any moment. His motivations I felt like were a little lacking, but him literally having this black force energy that surpasses Arlong and Crocodiles combined, I didn't really complain too much, and I felt like the scale for sure definitely kind of went up, like in terms of the stakes and the consequences of what would happen if our heroes lose. And that's pretty impressive because this arc is taking place right after the arc where Crocodile, a fucking menace to society, was about to just run up on the world government, had Luffy and the others failed, but now the scale just got even more massive and Enel is even crazier. Now, another big positive I'll give this arc is the comedy and the little moments where we just have our Straw Hats vibing, and even though it did make this arc a lot longer than it should, it also did give me more enjoyment out of it. The reason why I felt like these moments made me enjoy the arc a lot more than I should was because the Skypiea story itself I just really wasn't a fan of. I'll get more into that later, but overall I felt like the comedic elements in this arc were really fire, and it wasn't just like, oh my god, this is boring, not funny, didn't laugh, let's just keep on with the story. It was like, yo, let me get more episodes of them just vibing. Where is the full version of that song Luffy was singing while he was vibing in Skypiea? And like how I said earlier in the intro, some of the best moments in the series up to this point happened in this arc. Sanji might just have the best scene in this entire arc where he saves Nami and Usopp and uses Enel's lightning. He uses the lightning to light his goddamn cigarette? That's my god, Sanji, bro! Why is he talking about fucking Sanji this? I'm sorry. Chopper and Usopp also had great moments here, with Usopp's rope belt finally working out in the end, when he and Sanji were trying to get on Enel's ship, but before that, the belt just never worked at all in their favor. While Chopper finally stepped up as a Straw Hat and defeated a priest all by himself and did the best he could defending the Go Mary against a priest he specifically wasn't fighting because he wanted to make sure the Go Mary was intact. And I know in the intro how I said this arc is very frustrating, but I feel like once Enel is fighting Zoro, Robin, Viper, and Ganfall up to Luffy and Enel's final fight, the Skypiea arc doesn't look so bad. It's just really satisfying to see Enel, who looks down at everyone and had no trouble at all throughout this entire arc, finally meet his match and get defeated by the only possible counter to him. Also, I feel like I should talk about the beginning arc that sets up Skypiea, which is the Bellamy stuff and us meeting Blackbeard. I thought that stuff was really great setup as well. And that's about it for my pros list on Skypiea, and now time to get into my issues. Now, I only have 2 issues, however, they are pretty big ones, and the first main big issue is the pacing of this arc. This arc really doesn't have to be 52 episodes fucking long, and it really does show. Especially with some parts just dragging on a lot longer than they should, like Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp fighting that one priest. It just took way too long. Also, that priest apparently having brothers giving Nami trouble, that stuff was completely unnecessary. And I think this arc at its worst is definitely when Luffy is about to go and fight Enel, and it just cuts to the backstory of fucking Noland. And if I didn't already make it clear, this review is more so talking about the anime version, because I watched the anime version, I didn't read the manga version of Skypiea. So specifically, if we're talking about the anime, you guys can probably understand my pain, because oh my god, Luffy and Enel were really about to throw hands once again, and we just get Noland's backstory, which was already explained to us once by Noland's actual relative, the second time by Nami when everyone's vibing by the campfire, and now here where we're getting the actual full story. And yes, I am aware that the actual backstory has a lot more info than Nami or the relative's explanation of the story. However, the problem here is that it's placed right as the final battle is going to happen. If we just change where this backstory is placed, like where the diver is, or maybe where Nami was explaining the story, the only thing that it changes is that the final battle is perfect. This might only be a problem to the anime specifically, because even where I'm at in Enies Lobby, there's some filler episodes in between. Obviously, I skipped those episodes because it's filler. However, the problem here is that the Nolan backstory isn't filler, but it feels like it. And I really don't think we necessarily needed the Nolan backstory, or at least just not placed here. Like, why couldn't we get it earlier, or just snippets of it? Also, Wiper Squad and them going after Enel, like, that's placed really weirdly in my opinion. I don't know why they're not set up, like, at the start of the arc. They pull up around, like, the midway part of the arc, and it was just really weird initially, because I was like, who the fuck are these people? But it does make sense once you obviously finish the arc and you digest everything. Now, besides the pacing, I think the biggest issue this arc has is that nobody fucking dies in this arc when they should. You remember how I was praising Enel for being such a menace and having this Black Force energy? Honestly, it could have gone even further. However, half of the time when he attacks people and seemingly kills them, they just come back later on, and it's so stupid. First off, Wiper should have died the second time he used reversal against Enel, and then Enel shot a point-blank lightning blast at him. But guess what? Wiper survives that and then proceeds to use reversal yet again. And he still survives that. Not to mention 2 people on Wiper Squad were blasted by Enel himself and turned into bacon. And they just end up coming back. And this isn't even the worst one. Enies, who literally has been feeling guilty for what she did the whole second half of the arc, which leads into her trying to redeem herself and her father literally dying for her, and her doing her best to try and convince the people of Skypiea to get out, which was such a powerful ass scene. You remember how I mentioned about her father dying for her? He fucking survives the blast. I think he got pushed out the way, or he just took the blast. I don't remember exactly, but that's just not what should have happened. Enies' father dying and Enies basically being driven to try and get Skypiea out of there before it's too late was so powerful, and now it's just not as impactful because the dad just suddenly comes back. It's so lame how nobody dies this arc. This is literally like the problem in Alabasta, but 10 times worse. I don't know. I just find it really stupid how this arc could have been a lot more for sure, but overall I enjoyed my time watching this arc, but instead of me saying, wow, this arc is really great and impactful, this arc was just alright and could have been better. 7 out of 10.